Welcome, gents. The moment you stop caring about what doesn't serve you is the moment you become truly dangerous. There comes a point when a Sigma male simply stops caring, not in a reckless way, not in a bitter way, but in a way that shakes the world around him. He no longer wastes energy explaining himself. He no longer entertains meaningless conversations. He no longer carries the weight of people who wouldn't lift a finger for him. And when this shift happens, it's not just noticeable, it's frightening. Most people live for approval. They adjust their actions, their words, even their beliefs just to fit in. But a Sigma male doesn't play that game. He has seen through the illusion. He knows that most friendships are conditional, that most people fear originality, and that the world rewards conformity, not strength. So he detaches, not because he's weak, but because he's stronger than anyone ever realized. This kind of detachment makes people uncomfortable. They don't understand how someone can be so unshaken, so indifferent to expectations, so untouchable. But that's the power of a Sigma male. When he stops caring about what doesn't serve him, he becomes impossible to control. If you've ever felt this shift within yourself, if you've ever wondered why you're pulling away from the noise, you're not alone. This video will break it down, the truth, the mindset, and the reason why once a Sigma male stops caring, there's no turning back. Watch closely. Number one, they understand that freedom is a lonely road. True freedom isn't glamorous. It isn't wrapped in applause or drenched in admiration. It's quiet. It's isolating. And it forces a man to face the truth. Most people are terrified of being truly free. A Sigma male understands this better than anyone. He's not chasing approval. He's not looking for a crowd to validate his choices. And he sure as hell isn't bending to the will of others just to feel accepted. That's the trade-off. To live life on your own terms, you have to be willing to walk alone. Most people stay trapped in situations they hate because they fear isolation more than they fear mediocrity. They stay in toxic friendships, meaningless relationships, and dead-end jobs because the idea of being alone scares them more than the pain of staying. But Sigma males don't see loneliness the way others do. To them, it's not a punishment, it's clarity. When you remove the noise, the fake connections, and the unnecessary drama, all that's left is reality. And that's exactly what most people run from. When a Sigma male stops caring, it's not because he's bitter, it's because he's done entertaining illusions. He knows that real freedom isn't about escaping responsibility, but about taking full ownership of his life, regardless of how uncomfortable it gets. And yes, that kind of independence isolates him, but he accepts it, he embraces it, because he'd rather be alone and at peace than surrounded by people who drain his energy and demand his compliance. This is the part most people don't understand. They think he's cold, detached, unbothered. But what they fail to realize is that he's simply focused. When you strip away the need for approval, the fear of rejection, and the weight of expectations, you become something dangerous, completely self-reliant. And that, more than anything, is why the world finds a truly free man so terrifying. Number two, they see that most people are just repeats of each other. Everywhere they look, Sigma males see the same patterns repeating, the same conversations, the same empty ambitions, the same tired mindsets recycled from one person to the next. It's as if most people are reading from a script, blindly following a path laid out for them without ever questioning why. They chase the same goals, speak in the same cliches, and react to life in the exact same way as everyone else. And for a Sigma male, that's unbearable. He craves originality, depth, something real. But the more he observes the world, the more he realizes how rare those things are. Most people aren't thinking for themselves. They're just repeating what they've been told. They fear standing out, so they mimic those around them. They avoid discomfort, so they adopt whatever opinions are safest. They live on autopilot, never once stopping to ask if the life they're living is truly their own. This is why Sigma males detach. It's not arrogance. It's exhaustion. Trying to connect with people who only echo what they've absorbed from others is like talking to walls. There's no depth, no originality, just a predictable loop of surface-level interactions. And so instead of wasting energy on forced connections, a Sigma male steps back. He values his mind too much to let it be dulled by conformity. This makes him an outsider, but he doesn't care. He would rather walk alone than force himself to fit into a world that lacks authenticity. To him, real value lies in those who think differently, who question everything, who refuse to follow blindly. But those people are rare, and he knows it. So he moves through life with a quiet detachment, observing but never fully engaging. Because once you see how repetitive most people truly are, it's impossible to unsee it. Number 3, they've been betrayed. One too many times, Sigma males don't trust easily. When they let someone in, it's a deliberate choice, not a careless gamble. They observe, they analyze, they give people time to prove themselves. But even with all their caution, they've still tasted betrayal. Too many times to count. They've been lied to by those they were loyal to. They've been abandoned by people who swore they'd stay. They've watched as so-called friends turned into enemies the moment it was convenient. And after a while, something inside them shifts. At first, they take it personally. They wonder if they misjudged, if they should have seen the warning signs sooner. They replay conversations, looking for the moment things went wrong, but then they realize the truth. Betrayal isn't a rare accident, it's human nature. Most people are loyal only when it benefits them. Their kindness is conditional, their promise is fragile. And once a Sigma male understands this, he stops expecting anything different. This is where he becomes unreachable, not bitter, not broken, just done. He no longer gives people multiple chances. He no longer explains himself or demands honesty. He simply detaches. He builds walls so high that few even attempt to climb them. If someone betrays him once, they are erased. No second chances, no explanations needed. His trust, once given freely, is now something most will never touch. This makes him an enigma, someone others can't quite figure out. They sense his distance, his unwillingness to engage beyond the surface, and they wonder why. But a Sigma male has no interest in explaining himself. He has seen what people are capable of. He knows that trust, once broken, can never truly be restored. So he moves in silence, guarding his world, letting very few inside. And if that makes him cold in the eyes of others, so be it. Because he has learned the hard way. Being untouchable is the only way to stay unbroken. Number 4, they no longer care about changing people. There was a time when Sigma males believed in potential. They saw beyond the surface, recognizing what people could be if they just broke free from their own limitations. So they tried to open minds, tried to offer wisdom, tried to guide others toward a better version of themselves. But over time, something became painfully clear. Most people don't want to change. They don't want the truth. They want comfort, even if it means staying stuck in mediocrity. At first, it's frustrating. Watching people sabotage themselves, make the same mistakes, and reject growth in favor of familiarity is exhausting. Sigma males used to think that maybe, with the right words, the right approach, they could help others see what they see. But experience teaches a brutal lesson. Not everyone can be helped, and even fewer want to be. They cling to their excuses, defend their bad habits, and resist anything that forces them to take real accountability. And so a Sigma male stops trying. It's not out of cruelty or selfishness, it's out of wisdom. He realizes that energy spent on the unwilling is energy wasted. That some people will drown not because they can't swim, but because they refuse to move. So instead of trying to save them, he lets go. He focuses on himself, on his own path, on building the kind of life that doesn't depend on whether or not others choose to evolve. This shift is powerful. When he stops caring about changing people, he becomes untouchable. He no longer argues, debates, or convinces. He moves in silence, unbothered by those who refuse to grow. And strangely, that's when people start paying attention, because nothing is more unsettling than a man who has fully detached from the need to fix, prove, or persuade. A man who has learned the ultimate truth. People only change when they decide to, and most never will. Number 5. They've learned that most people fear the truth. Sigma males have learned the hard way that truth is not welcome in most places. People claim they want honesty, but what they really want is comfort. They want words that reinforce their beliefs, not ones that challenge them. They want to be told they're right, even when they're not. And when someone like a Sigma male refuses to sugarcoat reality, the response is almost always the same: defensiveness, anger, denial. At first they try, they share what they've learned, hoping to open minds, to wake people up from the illusions they cling to. But time after time they're met with resistance. No one wants to hear that their struggles are self-inflicted. No one wants to be told that their excuses are just a shield against accountability. No one wants to face the fact that they are the ones holding themselves back. So instead of listening, they attack the messenger. They call him cold, arrogant, insensitive, anything to avoid admitting that he's right. Eventually, Sigma males stop wasting their breath. They stop trying to make people see what they are unwilling to see. They learn that most would rather live in a comfortable lie than face a difficult truth, and so they withdraw. They keep their wisdom to themselves, sharing it only with those who have proven they can handle it. They no longer argue, no longer try to correct the misguided, no longer offer truth where it is not wanted. This detachment makes them even more mysterious. People sense that they know something others don't, that they see the world in a way most never will, and they do. But they also know that truth is not something you can force on the unwilling. It has to be sought, earned, faced without fear. Until then, a Sigma male keeps his silence, watching as the world drowns in its own illusions. Number 6, they've grown disgusted with society's mediocrity. Sigma males don't just dislike mediocrity, they reject it on every level. They look around and see a world that rewards the bare minimum, where people do just enough to get by and still expect applause. Effort is mocked, intelligence is undervalued, and those who refuse to conform are labeled as difficult. Instead of pushing boundaries, society lowers the bar, making it easier for people to feel accomplished without actually achieving anything. And to a Sigma male, that's sickening. They've worked too hard, fought too many internal battles, and sacrificed too much to settle for a world that glorifies weakness. They see people proud of their ignorance, bragging about not reading, not thinking, not questioning anything. They watch mediocrity spread like a virus, infecting every aspect of life. Workplaces filled with employees who do the least, schools that pass students who haven't learned, social circles that celebrate mindless gossip over meaningful conversation. Everywhere they turn, they see people content with staying exactly as they are, never improving, never growing, and they want no part of it. At some point, they stop trying to fit in. They stop pretending to be entertained by shallow conversations. They stop respecting titles and positions that were handed out, not earned. They walk away from groups that reward conformity over individuality. It's not that they think they're better than others. It's that they refuse to lower their standards just to belong. This makes them outcasts, but they embrace it. They would rather be alone than surrounded by people who settle for less. And while the world may label them as cold or arrogant, the truth is simple. They just can't respect a system that encourages laziness and punishes excellence. So they detach, focusing on their own growth, refusing to participate in a society that no longer values what truly matters. Number 7, they know their silence is more powerful than words. Sigma males understand something most people never do. Silence is a weapon, not out of manipulation, not out of arrogance, but out of pure efficiency. They've seen how pointless it is to argue with someone who refuses to listen. They've learned that explaining themselves to those who have already made up their minds is a waste of time. So they stop. They let people talk. Let them assume, let them misunderstand. And in that silence, they become more powerful than any loud voice in the room. People are used to noise. They're used to arguments, opinions, explanations, and constant justification. They expect resistance when they push, expect a reaction when they provoke. But when a Sigma male meets conflict with silence, it unsettles people in a way words never could. It forces them to sit with their own thoughts, to confront their own assumptions. The absence of a response makes them question themselves, wonder if they've lost control of the conversation, because silence isn't passive, it's deliberate. A Sigma male chooses when to speak and when to withhold. When he does talk, his words carry weight because they aren't thrown around carelessly. But when he doesn't, it's even more powerful. His silence isn't weakness, it's a refusal to engage in pointless battles. He knows that real strength isn't proven in debates, it's proven in restraint. People fear what they can't predict, and nothing is more unpredictable than someone who doesn't react the way they expect. That's why Sigma males leave people unsettled. They don't give away their emotions, don't fall into the traps set by those who seek validation through conflict. Instead, they observe, calculate, and choose when to engage, if they even bother at all. And that kind of control is terrifying to a world that thrives on noise. Number 8, people mistake their kindness for weakness. Sigma males don't start off cold. In fact, they're some of the most patient, understanding, and generous individuals you'll ever meet. They don't seek to dominate others, nor do they expect anything in return when they offer help. They listen without judgment, support without seeking validation, and extend kindness simply because it's in their nature. But over time, they start noticing a pattern. People don't appreciate it. Worse, they mistake it for weakness. People assume that because a Sigma male doesn't demand recognition, he doesn't see what's happening. They think because he's quiet, he won't stand up for himself. They assume his patience means he'll tolerate being used, and for a while he does. He gives people the benefit of the doubt, assuming they'll eventually realize their mistakes. But then it becomes clear they aren't making mistakes, they're doing it on purpose. That's when everything changes. The warmth that once defined him fades. He no longer offers his time freely. He no longer listens to endless complaints without action. He no longer gives his energy to those who only take. The shift is subtle at first, but undeniable. Conversations become shorter. His presence becomes rarer. Where he once gave without hesitation, now he calculates every move. And before long, he disappears entirely. This sudden detachment leaves people confused. They wonder what happened, why he changed, why the man who once cared so much now seems unreachable. But he hasn't changed. He's just stopped playing a game he never signed up for. He's learned that people don't respect kindness. They exploit it. And rather than wasting time on those who take him for granted, he simply walks away, leaving behind nothing but silence. And in that silence, they finally understand what they lost. Number 9. They've been used as emotional dumping grounds. Sigma males have always been the ones people run to when life gets heavy. They listen without judgment, absorb emotions without complaint, and offer advice that actually makes sense. They don't sugarcoat reality, but they also don't dismiss someone's pain. Their presence is calm, steady, and reliable, something most people aren't used to. And that's exactly why they get used. People see them as an emotional vault, a place to unload their problems without fear of ridicule. They come crying about their bad decisions, vent about their failures, and seek wisdom when they can't think for themselves. And a Sigma male, being naturally observant and logical, offers insight. He doesn't just nod along, he provides real solutions. But that's where the imbalance begins. Because while people are quick to drain him, they never stop to ask if he's okay. The moment he needs support, the room is empty. No one offers to listen, no one asks how he feels, no one even considers that he might need the same patience and understanding he gives so freely. And over time he notices. He sees how one-sided every exchange is. He realizes he's not valued as a person, only as a source of emotional relief. That's when he changes. He stops answering calls from those who only reach out when they need something. He withdraws from conversations where he's expected to carry the emotional weight. He no longer offers wisdom to those who ignore it anyway. And when people start noticing his absence, it's already too late. They realize too late that he wasn't just a convenient listener. He was a rare kind of person they took for granted, but by then, he's gone, detached, unreachable. And once a Sigma male walks away, there's no coming back. Number 10, they've outgrown the need to explain themselves. Sigma males don't owe anyone an explanation, and they've outgrown the need to give one. In a world obsessed with labels, conformity, and predictable behavior, they stand apart. And because they don't fit into any predefined box, people constantly ask questions. Why are you so quiet? Why don't you go along with the rest? Why don't you care about the things everyone else does? At first, a Sigma male might try to explain. He might attempt to help others understand his way of thinking, his choices, his detachment. But after a while, he realizes something most people don't actually want to understand. They just want him to conform. The questions aren't genuine curiosity, they're attempts to pressure him into playing by society's rules. They want to know why he doesn't crave attention, why he isn't desperate for approval, why he refuses to follow trends. But the moment he starts explaining, he sees the truth. People aren't listening. They aren't interested in his perspective. They just want to argue, to debate, to convince him that he's wrong. And so he stops. He no longer wastes energy justifying his choices. He no longer engages in conversations where the goal is to change him. He doesn't feel the need to defend his distance, his silence, or his refusal to conform. When people ask why, he simply shrugs, gives a vague response, or doesn't respond at all. He knows the truth. No explanation will ever satisfy those who refuse to see beyond their own narrow view of the world. This frustrates people. They want him to explain, to give them something to work with, to justify why he is the way he is, but he won't. He has learned that true confidence isn't proven through words. It's proven through action, through detachment, through the simple refusal to engage in meaningless discussions. and so he moves in silence, indifferent to the world's questions, knowing that the only people who truly understand him are the ones who never needed an explanation in the first place. Number 11. They no longer fear being alone. Most people fear being alone because they equate it with loneliness. They crave constant interaction, mindless distractions, and the comfort of fitting into a group. But Sigma males see things differently. They don't need noise to feel alive. They don't need validation to feel secure. And the moment they realize solitude is not a curse, but a form of power, they stop caring about anything that threatens their peace. At first, they might have tried to engage with the world the way everyone else does. They might have forced themselves into social circles, played along with the small talk, and entertained relationships that never truly resonated with them. But over time, they saw the cracks. They noticed how much energy it took to maintain shallow connections, how much they had to compromise just to fit into spaces that never felt right. And then it hit them. Why bother? Why waste time on interactions that drain them? Why fear solitude when in reality it's the only place where they truly feel at home? So they let go. They embrace the quiet, the stillness, the ability to think without interruption. They stop forcing relationships that don't add value. They stop explaining why they prefer being alone. They stop pretending to enjoy the company of people who don't understand them. And with every step away from the noise, they feel lighter, stronger, more in control. This shift makes them almost untouchable. They no longer seek approval, no longer worry about being misunderstood, no longer feel the pressure to conform. People may call them distant, cold, or even arrogant, but none of it matters. They know the truth. Solitude isn't something to fear. It's where clarity is found, where the mind sharpens, where real strength is built. And once a Sigma male experiences that kind of freedom, he never looks back. At some point, a Sigma male stops caring, not out of bitterness, not out of weakness, but out of wisdom. He's seen enough, learned enough, and endured enough to know what's worth his energy and what isn't. He no longer fights battles that don't matter. He no longer explains himself to people who will never understand. He no longer bends just to fit into spaces that were never meant for him. And to the outside world, this change is unsettling. People aren't used to someone who doesn't seek approval, who doesn't fear isolation, who doesn't chase after meaningless validation. They don't understand how a man can walk away from toxic relationships, empty conversations, and societal expectations without a second thought. But that's exactly what makes a Sigma male different. He isn't bound by the same invisible chains that hold everyone else down. He doesn't need to be understood. He doesn't need permission to live on his own terms. And if you're walking this path, understand this. Detachment isn't weakness. It's not giving up. It's leveling up. It's realizing that not everything deserves your time, that not everyone deserves access to you. It's about reclaiming your energy, your focus, your sense of self. The world will try to make you feel guilty for choosing yourself, but don't fall for it. Keep moving forward. Keep standing firm. Keep being the one thing most people fear, truly free. Thank you for watching, gents, and God bless you.